Hey, it's me, Abby P. What up, my P? Well, I'm happy to be doing another Korean Q&A this year with your questions. And a lot of these tips can apply to any language, really, or to life in general. I know a lot of us are all about that life inspiration too, so let's go. First question, what kind of curriculum or process can you suggest in learning Korean? Really wanted to learn the language, but after Hangul, I don't know what to do anymore. I get this question a lot, and I've addressed it before in previous Korean tip videos, so the link to that playlist will be in the description box below. First, it's great that you learned Hangul, so you should be proud of that first step. As for the process, when it comes to learning Korean or any language, you can just approach it naturally and even logically. If you think about when you learned your native language, you started off with a lot of natural listening, right? And then in school, for native English speakers, you learn your ABCs, and then words and grammar, and you wrote in journals and read a lot of books and listened to music and watched TV. It was a combination of a lot of natural exposure and then the actual work that you put in to study and memorize and practice and repeat. So then after you've learned Hangul, the Korean alphabet, what do you think your next step should be? Probably words, right? Vocabulary, basic grammar, all of which is utilizing that Hangul that you've already learned. And as discussed in my interview with polyglot and linguist Steve Kaufman earlier this year, listening is a huge thing too. So you'd say reading and listening are probably the most important, especially in the beginning.
Well, insofar as activities, learning activities, I think reading and listening are the most important. To me, the key skill to build up initially is not the ability to speak, it's the ability to understand. And if you do that, you can develop it. When the opportunity comes your way, if you have good comprehension, your speaking ability will develop. And of course, when you speak, you don't want to worry. If you understand what the other person is saying, you worry less.
So getting in a lot of time listening to the target language is a very, very important thing. And it's the easiest thing to do because you listen when you hear K-pop songs, right? Or you watch Korean dramas, videos like interviews behind the scenes or vlogs of BTS or Blackpink. That's a lot of natural Korean listening right there. Now, if you'd like a specific curriculum to follow, which I highly recommend too, you can take a class or you can buy a book. Or if you want the free routes, you can use free Korean learning websites. I mentioned a lot of these specific resources already in my previous Korean tip videos, so again, link to that playlist will be in the description box below. Okay, next question. Do you ever feel anxious when speaking Korean? Of course, I get anxious even when I have to speak English, and I'm a native English speaker. So the anxiety comes from having to go out of your comfort zone, from fear of making mistakes or looking silly, from a desire to do well or to look good, you name it. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I still don't speak Korean perfectly, of course. I still make mistakes, and there's still so much I don't know or will ever know. But I still do it anyway, because that's the only way to actually get better, is by doing it and then making those mistakes and then learning from it. And just a heads up, this is gonna be a very long answer to what could just be a yes or no question, but it's gonna be a long answer because I've naturally just been a very anxious person my entire life, and anxiety is something that hits really close to home. So I really do understand where you're coming from, and as an introvert especially, being put on the spot, like having to speak spontaneously when you're not even prepared, that has always been one of my weak points. Typically throughout my life, I've learned that I need to plan out things that I want to say, especially if it's something important. So like what I do with my videos, I plan out what I'm gonna say in my videos. Otherwise, if I don't, it's gonna waste a lot of battery, a lot of time, and I'm just gonna like ramble on or just have long periods of silence because I'm trying to like think of what I need to say, you know? So that's why I plan it out. So I've learned to just apply this method, this thing that I do with languages. In English, my speaking anxiety was quite bad that I had to literally write out what I was gonna say if I were to make a phone call. For work, if I'm at work and I have to make a phone call to like a client or something, or even for personal things like calling my bank, or especially if I have to call to resolve an issue about something. The thing is though, eventually you naturally just get better and better at things as you keep doing them more and more. So it's okay to feel anxious, that's normal. And it's okay to say to yourself, oh, I'm anxious right now. And then from there, navigate through that anxiety so that you can do whatever it is you have to do despite that anxiety. Being here in Korea, I could have easily continued to use only English with all of my Korean coworkers. I could have easily tuned out during conversations. I could have avoided as much social interaction as possible to stay in my comfort zone. But I kept thinking I didn't want to eventually leave Korea without actually knowing Korean. So I made efforts to use Korean to the best of my abilities. With my coworkers, it started off with very simple greetings like
안녕히 가세요, 안녕히 계세요, 감사합니다.
and then with shorter phrases like during lunchtime, 맛있게 드세요, okay, or like on Fridays, 주말 잘 보내세요. And then eventually by my second year, having actual conversations, even simple ones. And another year or so after that, my speaking just became natural to where my coworkers and other Koreans would just speak to me in Korean because they already knew that I knew Korean. I made an effort to listen to Korean anytime during conversations, like during lunchtime or during meetings or while I'm waiting for my transportation at, somewhere bus terminal, train station, subway. Anytime I heard Korean, I would listen. I would observe. I would process, I would imitate, do as I saw and speak as I heard. And then it started to just become more natural to where I could express myself more authentically in Korean because I now had the tools and I practiced enough. All it takes is baby steps, little by little, and it takes time too, a lot of time. So be patient with yourself. That anxiety, it's normal and it's okay. So acknowledge it, feel it, and then navigate through it so that you can do whatever it is you gotta do and just speak. Use that voice. And while we're on the topic of Korean speaking, I have this new app recommendation that I'm excited to share with you guys. It is actually today's video sponsor, so thank you. And I hope I pronounce it correctly. TEUIDA. 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 I think in Korean pronunciation it would be TEUIDA. And first off, if you guys have noticed, I've been doing a lot more sponsored videos on my channel. And I just wanted to make it clear with all of you that I don't actually work with brands and promote brands unless I really do like it or I feel like it will help you guys. And I think this app can be so helpful for so many of you that want to be less anxious about speaking Korean. So TEUIDA is a Korean learning app that specifically targets Korean speaking. And when I first saw this app, I was like, this is so cool. I wish I had this when I first started learning Korean too. And I'm gonna show you guys, we're actually gonna go through the app together right now. Okay, so let's open it up. All right, so it looks like this. I currently have the premium account, so I have a lot more features. I can navigate through a lot more things. So if you guys sign up with a premium account, you'll definitely get a lot more out of the app. So a big plus about this app is that it features real-life situations in Korea using natural Korean, aka things Korean speakers actually say and not like textbook stuff. So for example, let's go to level 1. And this is super cool. A lot of you K-pop fans are gonna like this because it features a K-pop idol in the first level already. So you can actually turn on subtitles, Korean, English, pronunciation, romanization, English. Let's just turn all of them on for now. I set mine to only have the Korean subtitles, but for beginners, we definitely want to have all of this on to be more helpful for you guys. 반가워요. 너무 예뻐요. 저도 만나서 반가워요. Yes. Wow, that's great. I got A+ on everything.
Wow.
So it's got all of these really useful topics like ordering food and drinks, making appointments, going to the movies, karaoke, leaving the friend zone, That's a really important one, right? Traveling around Korea, shopping. Let's do leaving the friend zone. All right, and then we're gonna go for suggest going out for a walk. Let's go. You're studying with your crush. Use the expressions you learn to suggest going out for a walk. Oh, I'm nervous. She's just staring at me. 네? 뭐를? 아, 오늘 날씨 좋네요. 산책하러 갈까요? 좋아요. Wow, why am I nervous? Like, this is fun. This is pretty fun, you know? And the cool thing is, like, it's not, I mean, it's a real person, but it's like not live. So there's not so much pressure on you. I feel like there's definitely a lot less anxiety, right? Traveling around Korea. That sounds useful. Not sure where to go next? Why don't you ask the locals?
그럼 나와서 차 한잔 할까요?
네.
얼른 세워야겠네. 서울에 놀러 가볼 곳 정말 많아요.
아, 추천해주세요.
경복궁도 있고 한옥마을도 있고 창덕궁, 명동, 공사동, 이태원,
헐.
강남, 한강, 롯데월드 있고.
전체 말씀해주세요.
한옥마을 가보셨어요?
아니요. 가보고 싶어요. Let's do this one more. Shopping around. No trip is complete without shopping. You're gonna hear that a lot. 마스크팩 있어요? 마스크팩. 네. 어떤 게 좋아요? 아, 어떤 게 더 좋아요? Oh, I gotta pee. Oops. 이걸로 주세요. Yeah, very useful expressions. Oh, hell no. And then this app also has like really like funny interactions. Yeah, it's really fun, it's really useful and very natural speaking practice. It's also really great for if you're planning on traveling to Korea anytime in the future. The app looks really good, like it's very organized, really clean. The quality of it overall is just really nice, like the pre-recorded videos, the text. So with the free content, you basically get whatever free content is available, but with the premium you also get unlimited access to all of the content, so everything that you saw. Weekly content update guaranteed. There's pronunciation analysis and conversation practice with pop stars, with K-pop stars. So I highly recommend this app, and I have a promo code to get up to $65 off. All of my codes and links on my sponsored videos give me a bit of commission as well, so you're helping me out with my content also, and I think it's just a big win-win for everyone. Okay, so next question. What are some things you did to improve your Korean? I've already gone through books, apps, tutoring, classes in school, you name it, I tried it. So as I mentioned in my previous answer, getting out of my comfort zone and just exposing myself to the language made the most significant change in improving my Korean. And coming from my perspective as a teacher, students and learners will gain more out of what they're learning if they're actually using it to complete some kind of objective, some kind of mission, some kind of task. It's not just about absorbing the information that you read or that you hear, that you see. You need to use what you're learning too. You need to apply it to some kind of task. As a Korean learner, I made significant improvements if I had to do some kind of mission even in my day-to-day life here in Korea. It was like my little daily missions, such as like, you know, something small like ordering something at a cafe or a restaurant, or telling the taxi driver where to go, or asking the bus driver a question about like how long is it gonna take to get to this place, or where is this stop, or do you go to this stop, or if I'm at like the last resort of having to call a shop and asking them what their store hours are. Stuff like that, like little daily missions for myself. For Korean learners not in Korea, which I'm sure is a lot of you, you can give yourself little missions too. For example, I've got some examples written down here for you guys. After learning Hangul and some simple vocab and grammar to where you can create simple sentences, one mission you can give yourself is to write a simple little letter to a Korean friend, to another Korean learner, but preferably to someone who's Korean or who knows Korean, because obviously they can, check your mistakes for you. But there's that. You can make it a mission to write a letter, or you can make it a mission to read some Korean posts on Twitter, or a Korean blog on Naver, or some webtoon. You can make it a mission to be able to read like a page of a webtoon in Korean. With listening, you can make it a mission to listen to like even a section of your favorite Korean K-pop song, or watch a short interview clip, 20 seconds of a vlog or interview clip of your favorite K-pop group, to where you can understand everything in that part of the song or in that part of the clip. So just little things like that. Give yourself little missions, little goals to accomplish, because it's with these little victories that you gain more confidence and more motivation to keep on improving. And it's perfect for tracking your progress too, because when you make these lists of goals or these missions and you like cross them off, then you can physically see like, oh, I know how to do this, and now I can like move on to the next level. What's your number one tip to someone trying to learn Korean? Well, for absolute beginners, I have said this before in other Korean tip videos, and other Korean teachers have said this, but I'm gonna emphasize it again. Learn Hangul. If you continue to rely on romanization, it's not gonna get you very far. And I know some might be intimidated, especially if you've never learned another Asian language that has a completely different writing and reading system from English. But guys, King Sejong the Great invented this system. He made it purposely easy to learn and understand. So I guarantee you, if you just sit down and try to learn Hangul, you can do it. Like, I guarantee it. And the internet is your friend. There are countless videos and websites teaching you Hangul, and all it takes is a quick search. It's important to know Hangul because it's like knowing the ABCs in English. Like that's the first thing you learn, right? And for English speakers, Korean pronunciation has got to be one of the hardest languages to get the pronunciation accurately, because they have a lot of sounds that don't exist in English, and a lot of it is very subtle too. So it takes a lot of listening and a lot of practice and a lot of time. And as for other tips, I want to say I pretty much covered them already in regards to the process and language anxiety and making improvements. So there you go. These are my tips for Korean learners. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It will really, really help me out. So thank you. Here are this week's comment shoutouts, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.